So I listen to Easy and Alan on their Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. During the show, you can live chat with Easy and Alan at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. Rumour has it, Lenny only swings one way, with Launch Angle. Now here's Easy and Chris Allen.
And welcome. That means it's a Wednesday night at 10 o'clock at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com, the Legend Sports Network. This is a Fantasy Fan Sportscast, and Chris is having some bandwidth issues, so we're going to go, if we lose Chris, we'll keep going. Now, his audio has been okay part of the time we've been warming up here. His video is so if you're watching us on YouTube, I'm still the good-looking one. But I'm just saying. Chris, other than your bandwidth, how are you doing this evening?
Not too bad. A lot of NFL news, a lot of sports news in general. So, I'm ready for the NFL season to get started and ready to talk some sports.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, you sound okay, a little choppy. There's a little time between us. So when we're done, I guess I can't talk over you tonight. I just have to kind of let you talk and say your part and everything. Kevin's out there in the chat room. Cha-Cha's out there in the chat room. You guys, if it sounds worse to you than it does us, let me know in the chat room. But other than that, we're going to go as long as we can. And you know what? If Chris pops in and pops out, I'll use my great knowledge of fantasy football to entertain. So we'll do our best. But yes, Chris, the important thing is tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we have football for the first time. And if I'm not mistaken, some type of football from this week until February, we will have some kind of football every week from now on. Are you excited about that?
Yes. And since February for this to happen. So, yeah, let's do it.
Right, it's ready. Now, are you a Hall of Fame game watcher?
Not really timid. So I'm just happy the game's going to be on. That's all.
All right. Me too. All right. All right. Yeah, there's still a delay. So we'll just go. And guys, sorry for a few minutes when Easy's not talking, you'll be able to take a breath there because there'll be a few minutes or not minutes, a second between my question and Chris's answer. Or Chris, again, if you want to turn your video off, see if that makes a difference and keeps your audio up with us, we'll be fine. The first thing I want to bring up tonight, because there you go, you sound good there. The first thing I wanted to bring up is just because my first big football love was the Miami Dolphins. And late 60s, early 70s, I was a big Dolphins fan, and Nick Bonacani was a big part of that. And Nick Bonacani, Hall of Famer, passed away today at age 78. Chris, he was part of the no-name defense, part of the undefeated Dolphins. I think 2 Super Bowl rings, back-to-back years. Are you familiar at all with Mr. Nick Bonacani on defense?
I don't think I've ever heard that name before.
You've never heard the name before, Nick Bonacani?
No, I don't think so.
Hall of Famer. But most younger people actually know his son more. His son was a very big college prospect and got paralyzed. He was in a football game. His son got paralyzed. There's been multiple stories, 30 for 30 ESPN. There's been other things on it. There's the, and I'm trying to, somebody in the chat room, what Nick Bonacani's son's name is, because there's a foundation and everything and all that. His son has moved on. I think actually coaches some football and stuff like that, but his son never played again. He's in a wheelchair. He's paralyzed. But Nick Bonacani, like I said, his son, that was a pretty big, pretty big thing when that happened. And that's you hate to see that, but now we lost one of the great Miami Dolphins. So when the last undefeated team loses a game this year, he'll be one less person in a room drinking champagne, because the Miami Dolphins try to get together a small group of them every year, and especially if the season starts and one team goes 6, 7, 8 games without losing, they all get together and crack champagne when that team loses.
Right, because it was just the Patriots. What was that? 5?
Yeah. Patriots technically went undefeated, but then lost in the Super Bowl. The Dolphins went undefeated and won in the Super Bowl.
6
so I think
years ago, or however long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Right.
Yeah. And so that means, if you don't know Nick Bonaconte, do you know Mercury Morris? Mercury Morris was the wide receiver on those teams. He's the big, the big sounding board.
That name rings a bell.
He's the big one. When the last undefeated team loses, he's always the one that you'll see on ESPN or something like that, So I'm trying to think. Jake Scott was one of the defenders for that team, but that's the group that had Jim Kick, Larry Zonka, Paul Warfield, Bob Greasy. That was all the offense. And then they're called the no-name defense because no one knows any of their names other than I was a big Jake Scott guy back in the day.
Okay.
So it was kind of neat. And yeah, Mercury Morris was, on that team also. So that was the big news to me. I mean, I know there's a lot going on today, but, again, being a big Dolphins fan back in the 70s, just hated to see, that I guess that's when you're getting older, when people start passing away that that you looked forward, that you looked up to or you remember as a kid.
Sure.
Hall of Fame game is Broncos Falcons, for people want to know. Like I said, this is one of those preseason games. And I think they play even less. I don't know if you'll see any starters. I don't recall how they do that normally, because
series, that's about it.
Okay, because I never watched it before. I was never a Hall of Fame game person before I got into fantasy. Now I've gotten into fantasy. I'm a little more into the preseason games, but the Hall of Fame game hasn't really struck my fancy much. And mainly because I forget it's on. And then by the time I see that it's on, I've already missed, the first half, which means you've missed anybody that you care about. So, but regular television, NBC, or if you stream NBC.com, Hall of Fame game tomorrow night. And that'll be fun. I should have looked up. I'm not a Hall of Fame guy. The baseball guys in the chat room get mad at me because I don't know. I just think the Hall of Fame, I don't know. To me, it's just an award. It doesn't get me excited as a fan. I couldn't even tell you who was inducted this year. I don't
remember either.
So, all right. So it doesn't help either. Before we get into the real guts of the show, though, it's important. Next Tuesday, which will be before our next show, is the first Hard Knocks. Will be on next Tuesday, HBO, 10 o'clock. LA Raiders, looking excited. Are you really excited for Hard Knocks? Maybe. I don't know, Chris, your audio was coming through. Now I lost you. I'm a Hard Knocks guy. It's one of those football shows or programs.
With all the players. Yeah.
Oh, there I had some audio back from you. Are you there, Chris? All right.
I think so.
Yeah.
You got me?
There's a delay again. But yeah, I got you. But I'm a Hard Knocks guy because it's one of those football things that my wife and daughter will watch. They like the story behind the players. So, I'm excited about that. Again, 5 episodes, I think. They go all the way through the season, all the way up to the first game, and they do the cuts and all that. So do you watch it if you can hear me? Chow doesn't like Hard Knockers.
Yeah, I do. Every now and again.
You know what? Every now and again. All right. Yeah, the delay's gotten worse, Chris. So I don't know if you want to boot down and come back in, see if that makes a difference or not. The delay now is much worse, and it's hard for me not to talk. I don't know. Some of you know me out there, and it's just hard for me to keep going. So, but Hard Knocks and all the stuff the NFL film. I grew up with, and I'm sure Cha-Cha's out there. Cha-Cha, did you grow up with all the NFL films? I'm trying to think how they did it. Just they had like the trying to think what time of the weekend they had the NFL highlight show on, where it was done by the NFL Films, and they would just the production, the frozen tundra and whatever. The guy who did the voices, it was just phenomenal. NFL Films, before we had streaming and all this stuff, was, I don't know, I can't remember not watching NFL Films and highlights back in the day. And then obviously ESPN and all that stuff kicked in and, unfortunately took over for some of that, to where, if I'm not mistaken, it eventually went to, I think HBO for a long time then had the NFL Films weekly show. And if I'm not mistaken, Chris Collinsworth and a few different host went on to do that, but you had to have HBO, and I didn't always have it, so I didn't see it all the time, but would catch it here and there. Then I think it moved, and maybe still is on Showtime, if I'm not mistaken. NFL Films weekly. I'm trying to even think of the name of the show, but if I'm not mistaken, it was Phil Simms. Now maybe still Chris Collinsworth. That does it, but NFL Films, they do a great job. I mean, to me, it's some of the best highlights of football. If you're not watching, if you're not watching the games or anything like that. But again, because we have ESPN, it's really taken away. That and the Something Michael Sports Machine. I remember staying up late Sunday nights to watch that before we had the ESPN's. I want to say Al Michaels, but I know that wasn't it. But it was the Something Michael Sports Machine. And again, when you watch that stuff and compared it to NFL Films, it was hugely different, because the NFL Films, they have access to the players and places on the field that other things don't have. So, just always entertaining. And I'm now am by myself. Chris is gone. I don't know. Hey, George Michaels. Sports Machine, and I don't know, and I don't even think there's really buttons. He had that little machine in front of him that he'd go and let's play that highlight. I was convinced that was no button. He just would hit something and a producer then played the damn video. But I do, as a young sports fan growing up, I did not miss that. I mean, Sunday night, and Cha-Cha, let me know if I'm not mistaken, was like 11:30 at night after the news, at least in, where I lived. I'm sure it was syndicated. But the George Michael Sports Machine, just that was my weekly sports show. And I think they did it all year round. So baseball, they did weekly stuff because it was only on Sundays, but obviously Sunday night they did mainly football because football happened the whole time. So those were the two highlights back when I was younger. We had the George Michael Sports Machine on Sunday night. Then we had Monday Night Football, which before fantasy, I really did only watch the Dolphins, or I watched the Dolphins as a kid. Then I became a Bengals fan, watched the Bengals. So if neither one of them were playing on Monday night, it just kind of depended what I was doing, except at halftime. I don't know if any of you remember, you would tune in to Monday Night Football just for halftime because, the same thing. You had that, they truly would do the highlights of all the games from that weekend. And again, it was before ESPN. So that was the only way we got, our sports news. This week in baseball was also one of those. But again, I didn't watch that as regularly as I did the other two. George Michael Sports Machine, Sunday nights I watched. This week in baseball, if I was around, I watched it because same thing. I think it was syndicated this week in baseball, so it ran at different times, Saturday or Sunday in different areas. and Cha-Cha, Bill Mazer, but if I'm not mistaken, he was New York. See, some of those were just, in some areas. Mel Allen, I do remember Mel Allen, but Monday Night Football, back when it was entertaining and they had the best game of the week, that changed when ESPN took over, and Sunday night became the higher picked rating of the two teams. So now ESPN, I don't know how far down they are on the list, but I think they're just one step higher than the Thursday night game, which is usually the worst combination of teams. But Thursday is still one of those things where Thursday is still a little different because the network doesn't get a pick exactly because every team has to play a Thursday night. So the NFL is also involved in the Thursday schedule. But when it comes to Sunday night and Monday night, those are already on the schedule and who's playing who. Then it's a matter of what network gets to pick in what order. And I know Sunday Night Football has the priority. So they get the pick first. And then if I'm not mistaken, then the 4 p.m. game of the week is the second picked game. And the third pick game is the Monday night, I think is how I've heard that in the past or how that's done. No, Howard Cosell doing the highlights on Monday Night Football was a highlight for me because you would get, Bengals insight, Dolphins and just get caught up with, all the other stuff. You're right, Cha-Cha. Now with iPhones and all that, kids don't care. My kids don't know when anything's on. My kids, I'm trying to even think if my family, my kids are in the middle 20s, so they're not even that old, but that's kind of my point. I'm 57, so I'm at that age where my family did family viewing. There was certain nights of the week where the whole family sat and watched certain things on television together. I don't recollect. I know that me and my kids, we've watched a lot of things together, but nothing religiously like like I did with my family, meaning, things would come and go, and all that. Yeah. Dandy Don Meredith, was Dandy Don Meredith was great on Monday Night Football. Definitely, I put him above Howard Cosell. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed Howard, and Howard kept me there. But if there was a blowout, I mean, Dandy Don knew how to keep you involved and a part of the game. And if I'm not mistaken, was he part of North Dallas 40? Was he in that show? I knew he did a little bit of acting. I can't remember if he was. I thought he was one of the ex-NFL people that actually was on North Dallas 40. Other than that, I'm trying to even think the actor that was the main guy in there. Wasn't that a country singer? Also one of the characters on North Dallas 40, which I thought of that tonight. Oh, we're way off thing because this is what a show would be like, Cha-Cha, with just me talking football without Chris. Chris is my football. So, Chris is now texting me. So hold on. Stop. This is important, I'm sure. Click update and restart. I'm staring at this screen and he has a picture there. He's got issues. Chris has issues. Windows 10 doing an update. Okay. Podcast tip of the day. Turn your machine on before you start your show a few hours early. I do this show at 10 o'clock. I get home at 6 o'clock ish. The first thing I do is walk in the house, turn on computers. Mrs. Easy will look at me and go, "What are you doing? I don't think your show's not till 10 o'clock." She says the same thing like every week. I said, "Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. But turn the machines on." And you'd be amazed how often an update pops up or something. And then I just let them run while I eat and, do my other stuff and all that. So just tip of the day, a good microphone. Don't be at the beach, and boot your machine early. Be prepared. Those are the three things. If you can do those three simple things, you can be a professional podcaster, just like me. And I don't even know if professional works because I spend more money than I don't, I don't think you can. Professional means you get paid, right? Cha. Right, Kevin? There's no financial glory here. The only financial part I get is, every once in a while, every month or so, Mrs. Easy will go, "What is this $29 for?" on our credit card thing. And she goes, "I think I saw it last month too." And I have to say, "Oh, that's something service, to make me sound like a professional podcaster, or that's a something, for my streaming." I just go from there. So I'm not sure professional. Hold on. I'm texting Chris back and let him know if he wants to get back. We'll roll with it. But I got all kinds of stuff. I mean, like I said, we can Lenny pay. Right. I get paid with Lenny's knowledge. And again, how much more entertaining could today have been with, Kevin on the beach? I say that's, and I said that in the chat room, the kids screaming in the background. That's why sharks were put on this planet. On the seventh day, he rested. The sixth day was light or something. And after 9 months and 2 days, when he saw the first child, he went, "I need to invent an animal that will eat those if they ever get close to the water." So the kids screaming at the beach is why we have sharks. And sharks are not scared of screaming kids because that's why they were put here. Kids, when you get in the ocean, scream and splash a lot. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. Other than that, Kevin, Lou, you did a great job today. Football. Like I said, I will now talk football like I know anything. I literally have like 4 notes because Chris can talk forever. But the big thing today was $100 million contract for a wide receiver. 5 years, the most money ever. I don't know. He seems to be a good wide receiver, catches a lot of passes. Michael Thomas. He did go to the Ohio State University, which, I think he was actually one of those involved in the sell his gold pants controversy when we lost a few players. And, he's a good football player. It's just amazing, though, the next contract is always the biggest in every sport. Now, and football wasn't that way for a while, but now, unless you were quarterback, now it's all the other positions too. Like the guy, I would draft the guy, love to have him on my team, but that's a lot of money for a wide receiver that, if I'm not mistaken, this will be his 3rd year, I think. 4th year, maybe. So we'll go there. Andrew Luck hurt again. Just saying. He's just not a preseason guy. The problem is every time he gets hurt in the preseason and every time we get told that he's only going to be out a few practices, you won't have him till the middle of the season. I don't know. Maybe this time it'll be different. But they have shut him down. Yeah, okay. I will be off before your breakfast, chow. But they're shutting Luck down at least the rest of this week. He will not play in their opener for sure, and they will decide next week if they're going to play him next week. So there you go. If you're an Andrew Luck guy, good luck with that. See, Chris, this is where I shut up, and Chris will talk for 10 and a half minutes. Sorry, guys. Cha, you have a new podcast. I'm excited. The other thing I had, again, I don't know what to talk about because as soon as I talk about something important, then Chris will come back and we'll get into it. But I wanted to go over, me and Chris a while back last year did the 5 commandments of fantasy ownership. And I thought it was important tonight that at least we mentioned them again and we would discuss them. Now it's just going to be me mentioning them and me telling you why they're right because I made them up. You want to be Chris? I'll put, hold on. I can do that. Hold on. Stop sharing, invite. I'll give you a link. If somebody else wants to pop on here, I will take there's a link. If somebody wants to come on and be my fantasy football sidekick, I'm more than happy. That's fine. I can work with anyone. I can make anyone look professional. Top 5, the 5 commandments of fantasy ownership. Number 5 skill that you have to have is trading and negotiating. We decided. The reason I bring that up, a lot of you are in keeper leagues, some in dynasty leagues. And I was offered a trade already today in my keeper league where somebody has some struggling keepers and they wanted to trade him to me for some draft picks. And again, it's like trying to get a trade together with Cha-Cha. Just a waste of my time. I'm a highly skilled player in all of the fantasy genre. And I don't know why. In my football league, a lot of people come at me because I do trade a lot. They know I'm out there. But the problem is they also will work it like he did. He wanted me to come up with something. It's like 2 different times I'd say a few things. I said, well, I see your keepers. I don't think I'm interested, but at great value, I'm interested in anybody. Well, then he said, make me an offer. I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. Tell me what you're looking for. He had a couple tight ends. I said, you know what? I'll get Tyler Eifert in the 18th round. I don't need your tight end keepers in the 10th or whatever. There's my Bengals reference. Tyler Eifert in like the 17th or 18th round, I am more than happy with if I go tight end late. In a lot of drafts, you can wait till the last round to get Jimmy Graham, Olsen, Reed, and like even 4 rounds after your draft, you can still get Tyler Eifert, who is healthy for the first time. He's been out. I get it. He's been out like a year and a half. But he is on a 1-year contract. He's playing for contract. I actually think he's going to be a decent player. And I think their Bengals are only going to use him within the 20s. So to me, a tight end that's getting touchdowns all the time is a value. If you're not getting Kelsey or Kittle, somebody who's, getting both a bunch of catches and a bunch of yards, everyone else, it's just, 6 catches, 60 yards, blah, 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 blah. But with Tyler Eifert, you can get 1, 2, 3 touchdowns a game. And when I say he's within the 20s is when they're going to use him the most, I agree, but they're also going to use him in the middle of the field, on 3rd downs and stuff. And with AJ Green going down, Bengals tight end, I think is going to get some activity. So just telling you, if you're one of those people that don't like to draft tight ends, you literally can go all the way to the end of your draft and get Tyler Eifert. And I don't think you'll have any problem with that. I mean, here's the thing, if he's not the right guy, you cut him. If you're waiting that late, you're going to be picking up a streamer or here, there anyway, or if he doesn't pay off, I think the other Bengals tight end will. So, you'll have options out there. So trading and negotiating. And again, baseball with me and Cha-Cha. I don't know, Cha-Cha, did you count how many trade offers we both declined this last week? I had a blast doing nothing but declining your offers. Had a good time. You know what? Now you say that I'm not the Tyler Eifert's one I know, but yes, I think now you say that. I think the other tight end for the Bengals is also a Tyler. So just draft both Tylers. Pick 17 and 18, and you'll have a tight end. But any draft you offer me tonight, I will also decline. So thank you, Cha-Cha. Number 4, risk management. You have to be able to control your risks. And the reason this is important right now is risk management is part of drafting. Drafting is number 3. Risk management becomes part of drafting on draft day. You have to be, one of the commandments is be good at drafting, be prepared, know what you're looking for. Also, risk management becomes part of drafting on draft day also, so that you can, pick and choose, look at guys, is this a place where you want to take a shot? And I'll go back to AJ Green, risk management. Where are you going to want to take AJ Green? He's dropped a ton before this injury. He was going late second, early third, but a lot of people thought if he was healthy, he had the ability to, have, number 1 numbers. But now he's fallen third, 4th, 5th, depending on, where you're drafting. So that's part of the risk management. Where do you take those spots? And right now in the first round, there's a lot of risk. We have, I think, this morning we had 3 round 1 picks that talked about holding out. I think now we're down to 2 with Thomas signing today. So we're down to Zeke Elliott and Gordon, who both in most mock drafts before this talk was going in the first round. Gordon in most mock drafts now has dropped to the 2nd and 3rd already. But Zeke, most people are just dropping from 1 to 4 or from 2 to 5, which I find a little odd. I don't know if it's because he's a much better player and the risk reward is better. But, before this, he was picked 1, 2, or 3, and Gordon 5 or 6. But now Gordon has dropped all the way to the 3rd round. Zeke, you can get, has only dropped to the 5th or 6th pick. So, my opinion, give me that choice. I'll take someone else at pick 5 or 6, and I'll come back and take Gordon in the 3rd if that's what I get. I mean, if I'm going to gamble right now, if I was to draft right now and I was going to gamble one way or the other, I always gamble on the later pick. If that's with a team or a player or a situation. But if I have 2 running backs that have both have issues, but neither one might not sign, I would take Zeke first if they both fell similarly, similar amounts. But, that being said, if it stays the way it is today, I would rather take my shot at Gordon in the 3rd than I would Zeke going 5th or 6th. So, Cha-Cha in the chat room, don't bring up slow drafts, because that's just something for me to, that's why we came up with the flaming Cha-Cha, because you were so pissed at me over a slow draft, because it's the only thing I can take my time at. Everything else, I don't have control. But in a slow draft, I do like to go slow. That's all. That's all. If you're going to put me in a draft where the word slow is in it, I'm going to take advantage. So like I said, number 3, I mixed in there with this drafting. This is the time right now. Prepare, get your drafts, do your mocks, do all that. Part of that will be your risk management, but risk management also goes through the season. It's like me. I'm already thinking risk management. If I take AJ Green in the 4th, in my league, my main league, I don't have to draft a kicker or a defense. I do have to have one for the first weekend, but I usually don't draft one. If I know AJ Green is going to be on my IR spot or IR eligible, and I don't have to pick, a defense or whatever, I will pick all players. The day after the draft, I move AJ Green to IR and I have one more spot. Now I'm able to, pick up my defense or one of my kickers, or maybe even another guy if I'm willing to, take another gamble maybe for the week to see what happens for a starter or whatever. And week 1, I almost always, in this home league where I don't have to draft a kicker or a defense, I don't pick one up till the last minute. You'd be amazed the last week of practice where the last minute you find out so-and-so isn't going to start and somebody else is. And now, you have that spot, or you already picked up I'm not a handcuff guy, but I do pick up a few of those last 2 picks to cover myself. And if the season starts as normal, I drop them. I get my kicker. I'm done. And but if that week after my draft, one of them gets hurt and I have the cuff, I've got a starter maybe. So it works out for me. AJ, I mean, that's part of what I'm saying, risk management. When people tell me they avoid somebody, my argument is I don't avoid anybody because I don't avoid value. If I can get AJ Green in the late 4th or 5th, that's a spot where I'm willing. I've won championships before where my 4th or 5th pick never played or got hurt or didn't do anything for me. That's an area where I'm willing to risk drafting somebody who could have me round 2, round 1 value, after week 3 or 4. I'll take that risk, especially in the league where I have an IR spot. And hey, I've also learned those IR guys, AJ Green gets, let's say he goes 3 weeks on the IR, and I have a slow start. Someone else has a fast start, but they have, some little weaknesses their wide receiver. I'll trade AJ. And I'm one of these, I will trade. Give me 50 cents on the dollar. So let's say I trade him and get 8th, 7th round pick. If I know what I'm doing, I'll get a player that'll give me that value back or some of that value back. And then I'll trade him to somebody. And then, then I'm hoping he doesn't pay off for them. But I'm not one of these that will sit. I hear it all the time. You baseball guys say it all the time. I'm never selling 25 cents on the dollar. That's right. Then ride that dollar all the way to the ground and never get a dime for it. Don't even get a penny for it because you just, in your head, you were willing to keep the bastard in your lineup or on your bench, but he never paid off. Where to me, like anything else, if there's something that shows you that he's never going to come back, you have to drop your losses. And even if he may come back, you still might want to drop your, take your 50 cents on the dollar sooner than later. So at least your 50 cent guy, has a chance. And then, yeah, I've done it. Sometimes that guy comes back and you go, man, I should have kept him. But then, maybe those 2 or 3 weeks that you didn't have him, the guy that you did pick up for 50 cents on the dollar helped you out. So I don't know. I risk management to me, and that's why it's on the list. Some people don't even understand it. I'm willing to do risk management because I'm also willing to dump and drop or take a trade, and I'm willing to take a little less money here and there. To help me win, to help me stay competitive. Because I know in most fantasy football leagues, you don't get paid anything for the regular season. You only get paid to win the playoffs. So I will manage my team to get me to the playoffs, and then I'll worry about it then. I get it. Live bodies. People don't. I happen to be a competitive fantasy football player, and even in baseball, Chacha, you've seen my IR spots in our baseball team has been filled up since day one. If I see things are going a certain way and I'm going to be having to take someone off of IR and drop someone else, I will always pick up an IR guy, take my IR guy off, put the new IR guy on, then go pick up another guy to replace that spot. Those are 4 spots. I want the people. When I see, I've seen it. Even good fantasy baseball or football people will have no one on their IR spot. To me, it's a wasted spot. If yours is empty, in my opinion, you're not doing everything you can to try to win. So I definitely do that in football too. If I'm able to work my waivers just right, and my IR spots, I will draft someone on draft day in my main league that I know is IR eligible because I'm going to move them there day one. The next Monday when free agents open up or whatever, I'll pick up somebody. It's just the way I play. Those IR spots to me, that's what they're there for, to have warm bodies. So if you need them, you can use them. Sometimes I don't even think it bites me back. It's like right now I've got a couple guys that's got a shot at coming back at the same time in my baseball league. And I might have to drop a couple good players or one good player or do something that's a little harder to work around. But at the same time, I might have to look and see, well, maybe I need to just, if I drop this guy, though, I'll pick up another IR guy so I can switch the two so that I've always got bodies. I definitely do that in football. If I'm playing in an IR league, I do it. So, but drafting, number 3 in the commandments, do a lot of mocks, do that kind of stuff. Roster management is the number 2. I think that's what we're just kind of talking about. Went right in with drafting, roster management, your IR spots, your, how many running backs versus wide receivers, are you drafting handcuffs? Are you not? I know those are all strategies, and hey, some of them are good, some are bad. I different league. All those strategies to me are out the door until after my draft, and then I'll decide. So, I'll drop AJ tomorrow. Cha. You have no fab money. You wouldn't. That's the problem. I mean, the good thing in that league is you have no fab money. Meckert has no fab money. JR has no fab money. JJ has no fab money. I mean, the people who have fab money are so far down in the rankings, they're not picking people up now anyway. So, I could drop someone in that league right now, knowing in 3 days I'll pick them back up because I know I can afford that if I had an issue. So I know, but I can't drop him. But roster management for fantasy football and baseball, I think it's important. And then the number 1 commandment for fantasy ownership is identifying value. Again, knowing, when is a non-warm body of value. Like I said, today someone offered me draft pick, was wanting draft picks for some keepers that he had. And I mean, he just wasn't willing to give me value, and I'm not interested. I mean, value to me, fantasy sports is all about value. And sometimes value shows up in different ways, different names, different meanings, sometimes in trades, again, sometimes in trades, both teams can be helped, but somebody might, be getting 95 cents, the other guy getting $1, and that other guy on the 95 said, nope, I decline that trade. Even though that trade will help me, I decline it. So there you go. So the 5 commandments for fantasy ownership with football starting, especially number 1 thing you need to do is identify value. You need to know value. You need to know your players. You need to know what they're worth. You need to know your scoring. All that becomes part of value. Number 2, roster management. And all these intertwine. You got to know, how you're going to construct your lineup, what's important. Is it a 2 quarterback league, super flex? Then you have your drafting skill. That's what you're working on right now, which when Chris was here, and maybe I'll do a round or 2. I was going to do a mock draft with Chris just to get a couple of rounds down. Risk management. Take some I'm a guy. It's fun. And to me, a little gamble once in a while on fantasy makes it fun. I'm amazed how many of you don't believe that part. They don't want to risk anything. Nobody. And again, I know Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com, the Legend Sports Network. Baseball seems to be worse than football when it comes to, and I think it's because everyone has their own values. So that probably is why baseball people seem to, think they know more than everyone else. Where I think in football, you guys use the word easy. I just think it's different. I think in football, the values are a little more consistent because less players, less positions. But you know what? I don't know. The baseball, nobody in baseball wants to ask, what do you guys think of this trade, and be told it was bad. I don't care. I made the trade. I move forward. I don't look back. Cha-Cha and me made a trade. Cha-Cha, I don't even know. When did me and you make a trade? 2 or 3 weeks ago? I can't tell you now who I gave you. I'm not one of those guys who I've played with people go, I should have never traded Cha-Cha, that guy. I've been watching for the last 3 weeks. He's got 9 home runs, 47 RBIs. Not easy. Not easy. Once my money's off the table, I'm done with that. I don't look anymore. Who I traded Cha-Cha or anyone else is no longer a factor on my team. So I can't dwell on it. I got to keep moving forward with the team I've got. I worry about the guys now on my roster that I got from Cha-Cha. And half the time I don't even recall where they come from. When the trade is over, thank you, Conforto. I could have not, as of right now, I think I'd have looked at my roster and went, man, that was a good pick for me. You're right. I did get Conforto from Cha-Cha. Who did I give up, though? I could not tell you who I gave you. I think that's what I'm talking about. Okay, Martinez. All right. I think the night I traded him, or maybe the second night, he blew a save. That's all I remember. Or he gave up, maybe his ERA was like 47 or something like that. And I think that was just because it was the night, but he was still on my roster because we have a shitty commissioner. We're in one of those leagues where a trade can't go through for like 9 months. You have to keep him on your bench for 9 months. Defend all trades. That's what Kevin is saying. I don't know what that means. If Kevin is saying that he defends his trades with other people, I don't defend my trade with anybody. Me and Cha-Cha made a deal. We approved it. I don't know, 9 days later, the two players switched, and I continue looking at my roster every day. I only look at my roster. I move forward. I don't look at who I traded. I think this league, I haven't been able to make many trades. I don't know. I think I still have one on there that I offered Andrea like in week 1. And I think my guy's got 4 broken legs that I would have got back, and she would be getting like Trout, but she still hasn't looked at it or accepted or declined it. But that's neither here nor there. But I just, so Kevin, I am wondering, when you say I defend all trades, I don't know if that means that only in your mind or to other people. I just never defend my trades. Once me and Cha-Cha agreed, and the Conforto Martinez trade went a little better than this week. We did go back and forth, to be honest. I think Cha-Cha, that one took about a week, and multiple different players and stuff. I needed home runs, and and that's what I always look at. I look at what I need, and then I look at what Cha-Cha need. He needed saves. I need home runs, and I think we went back and forth a few different people. And then, we ended up with what we did. So, but even that, that's my point. When people say, oh, Andrea beat my ass in our deal, I never say that, because I would say, I don't even know. I'm not watching Andrea. If I happen to play Andrea, maybe the next week, and I would look and see. And I know people look at me and go, you're a liar. All your... I just don't. I have learned it's like poker. Once you've put the money on the table, it's not your money anymore. I think the poker guy in me has learned that pretty well, because you can't make good decisions in poker if you're always worried about the money you put in the pot, but it's not your money anymore. So you can't worry about it. You have to make the decision from here forward based on the amount of money you're going to continue to put in the pot. And that's the way I am in fantasy. I just don't play that game. I accepted the deal. I move on. I now control the roster I have. And if that trade didn't work out, meaning it didn't help my team, because I don't care what it did for Cha-Cha or Andrea's team anymore. I only care what it did for my team. So if the trade didn't work out for me, my next goal is to start working on the next trade, not to go in a chat room and whine and cry, not to, bellyache or complain. A good fantasy person, needs to just move on and go, now, okay, that didn't work. Maybe I can swing, an extra guy here. The guy that didn't work out, I might lose value, but let me flip him quicker now instead of swim with him. Gotta love the cough button. I should ask my doctor when he asked me to cough like that. Say, can you mute your microphone first? I don't think I could cough in front of a microphone now. I'm getting pretty good at the cough button. So I'd say, Doc, hit the mute button. All right. Winner. So that's, and right, Chacha's saying he would do it again. And that's also the point. If it's a trade you would make again, that means you were fine. Cam's in there. Cam is amen easy. I'm a very religious person when it comes to my fantasy teams. The hold on, I got to go up here when Kevin was defend. I defogger people's trades. They have their reasons. I defend people's trades. They have their reasons. I think that's Kevin's probably still at the beach and has seawater on his iPhone. I don't know, Kevin. I think you defend people's trades. I don't even talk about them much other than harassing Cha-Cha when we make a trade just for the hell of it. But again, I've pushed my chips in. I've made the trade. I have a team to work with. I move on. That's what I'm saying. So those are the 5: identify value, roster management, drafting, risk management, trading, and negotiations. And you know what? We're getting ready to go into the football season. So you need to work on those skills. And that's what we decided on those. Those we felt were skills that could be learned. They're not luck. They're not things that just can happen randomly. We felt these were 5 things you could actually get good at or better at. And to be honest, the guy who's great at all 5 is probably going to be, in the playoffs, championships all the time, but you could master 2 or 3 of them and do well in fantasy sports. So, move on with your life. So, like I said, Chris never came back. He had problems with his computer and his bandwidth all night. So for you people that tuned in specifically, to hear great fantasy advice, great football advice, I do apologize, but I've had fun. I was able to kill. Well, Chris was here, the first 10 minutes, but only said like 2 things. So we were able to, to keep it going a little bit. I don't know how close some of you are in football. But the draft day or the trade deadline today in baseball, I think that's pretty exciting. But do most of you guys, because Chris isn't here, so we can talk baseball. What I've noticed, I only care about the trade deadline, the Reds players, and then my fantasy value of my guys. Other than that, I don't care. I know today, I know what Lou and Kevin were doing today. Their whole job was to just let everyone know what's going on. But I just don't get excited over trades of players that aren't on my team. So the big names who I know are already on rosters, I don't hardly even listen to much unless I know that guy's on my team. Or what I want to know is, how does that top guy leaving affect the rest of the roster on that team? And now, is there a starter out there that you can grab? Or I think today the big thing is how many relief pitchers might be out there now that weren't this morning, because now there's teams. It was amazing, Kevin. Because I don't pay a ton of attention because they're not on my team. I even grasped, but it seemed like every relief pitcher in the league got traded today. I'm pretty sure every relief pitcher is on a new team starting tomorrow. So that was pretty exciting. And that's what makes baseball a little more exciting now, because you quickly now have a night where, I'm sure there'll be a few people picked up that wouldn't have been picked up if trades hadn't taken place. So it gives you that middle of the season boost. The good thing is, in a lot of leagues, half the league people aren't even playing much right now or paying attention. So as Cha-Cha would bitch about it in the morning, the rich get richer because they're the ones that are paying attention. And they'll pick up a few of these relief pitchers if they can. Or there's people like me where our rosters are so primo, it's hard to drop people, and that is hard. That's part of risk management and roster management is when do you drop a decent player to hopefully get over the hump on another player. So Kevin, that was the number one thing I was listening for today on your show that you guys I was waiting for the bomb to drop where the Reds traded everyone traded a relief pitcher except for Cincinnati. The team that has 3 of them did not trade one. And I picked up Amir Garrett 2 weeks ago for a couple bucks, maybe $1, because I figured he won't hurt me in the ratio for the week. But my goal, I thought 2 things could happen. The Reds would dump a reliever or 2, and maybe Amir Garrett becomes the Reds closer, or they trade Amir Garrett and he becomes a closer on somebody else's team, maybe. And obviously that didn't happen. But like I said, yeah, the Reds, we ended up with Bauer. We traded mental cases, Puig for Bauer. I've enjoyed watching Puig. I will not, don't get me wrong. I hate the Dodgers. So when he played for the Dodgers, I did not pay, whatever. I mean, he was exciting to watch because he would, he's a little nuts. And that can be fun. I've enjoyed watching him on the Reds, but he hasn't done anything spectacular. So I have no problem with the trade the Reds made. Our pitching staff now is pretty awesome with Wood back now. The staff, I think, obviously Bauer versus Rourke. I think Bauer would be the better pick. So I'm pretty excited about that. When again, I think Rob Dibble is going to come back, and Bauer and Dibble are both going to stand at the pitching mound and throw it out to the outfield, and see if they can get it over the fence. Because that was Rob Dibble. That was his claim to fame. But he hit a lady in the head supposedly, and she sued him. It's a big deal. But because he just turned around and heaved it. I don't know. That kind of shit makes it fun. Makes it fun to watch. So, Bauer fits right in then, because the Cincinnati Reds love guys that will turn around and throw it over a fence. So, the nasty boys. So I think the Reds got better because we had outfield, we had players. So as a Reds fan, I'm good. The Scooter Jeanette was the only thing I think of the league I'm in with Cha-Cha. I don't know. I don't know if that helps. I actually think that helps Scooter because I think the way the Reds were set up right now, Scooter was not going to play every day until he got on a roll. And I don't think Scooter's the kind of player that's going to get on a roll until he's playing every day. And I think here in San Francisco, I would assume he's going to start all the time. And I was curious, do we know, I know Kevin, you're more into it. Is there any chance he plays? I'm not a San Francisco person, so I don't know what they need. Is there any chance he plays a position other than second base? I just wondered how that would affect his eligibility. I don't know what they have shortstop wise, or I don't think he's a third baseman. So I'd just be curious there if there's any chance Scooter's going to be playing shortstop, or is he strictly going to San Francisco to be a second baseman? So yeah, I truly went through the trade thing today without any. None of my I have a pretty decent pitching staff. None of my pitchers. Okay, so Kevin's saying he is going to be their second baseman, and I'll take that. I'll take Scooter Jeanette on my fantasy team. As a Red, he was liked a lot. Most of the fans around here liked Scooter. But Dietrich coming on this year, a couple of the young guys. Again, if you don't play, people forget about you in a hurry. And, Scooter's come back. He hasn't done it much since he's come back. So obviously San Francisco's hoping that, he does it. So as a fantasy guy now, I'm kind of excited that I have him because I've had to watch him a lot. Unfortunately, if you're in weekly, it's hard to play him in a weekly if you can't change every day because he's been sitting every few days. If you're in a daily, that could be okay. But now, obviously, I'm assuming in San Francisco, he's going to start pretty much every day. So there we go. That's That is, I don't think so. Chacha wants to know if Peraza is going to play. I still don't see him fitting in. I don't see where they would put him. I'm assuming he will be the utility guy. As long as Dietrich is hitting like he's hitting, Dietrich will play a little bit first base. So Votto will sit. Then Dietrich will come back, and Dietrich can play just about anywhere. He'll play some outfield. Peraza's not been bad in the outfield, so he'll be out there once in a while. I think Peraza is going to be just kind of like what Scooter's been lately. Play a couple of games, sit a couple of games. So I like Peraza in the long run. So I'm glad the Reds didn't get rid of him. I still think Peraza a year or two from now could be an everyday player at second or short. He actually is a pretty good fielder. And when he's hot, he can swing a bat some, and he's got some speed. So I don't have a problem with that. So there we go. I killed it. I'm sure you all loved that I got on here and chatted and had nothing to say. Filled up my hour. I didn't want Andrea to fire me. So I had to show up and move forward. And hopefully, I don't even know. I quit looking out. Chris might have texted me a minute ago. It looks like he's still got issues. I gave up on him. See, you can't trust those football people. Whatever. So everybody, tomorrow morning, Cha-Cha, is there a breakfast? Is there breakfast in bed? I get breakfast in the car. I'm going to die one of these mornings trying to get you on. But because I get to work between 8:30 and 8:45. And so, but we have Cha-Cha in the morning, sometime around 8:30, I've noticed. I don't know who's on at 9. Who cares? It'll be somebody. I'm excited. It'll be somebody. That's all that matters. I love Lenny, and I'll listen to Lenny, and Lenny gives me good advice. But you know what? Just somebody come on at 9. I mean, I'm at work. I'm getting paid, reading my emails, doing stuff. I need somebody on at 9 to get me through that. So it looks like I'm working really hard at 9 in the morning. So I don't know who's on. Hell, I don't know who's on anytime. Cha-Cha gets mad because I don't plug anybody's shows. No, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Lenny Melnick, FantasySports.com, Legend Sports Network, a fantasyfan.com, which takes you to my page on this network. You know what, people? It isn't that hard. Go to Spreaker. Favorite a bunch of these shows. When they come on, your phone goes beep, beep, and then you hit a button, and now you're listening. It's not that hard. You don't need Cha-Cha holding your junk in the morning, telling you when everybody's going to be on. You just, you hit a few favorites. I know when Aloha's on. I know when, I can't say that show anymore. I know at 2:00 when a different show's on. I know when the gangsters are rolling in. You know what? I know when Arnie's on. And now I get it. I'm using Spreaker on my phone. I'm not at a computer. I can't be in the chat room, and that's fine. But I still listen to a bunch of these shows because I have the Spreaker app. And on the Spreaker app, again, you type it in, you favorite the things, and every time the show starts, it beeps. You just put the little like button on there. It isn't that hard to follow these shows, so you know when they're on, and and you just listen. And if the show's going well and I'm capable, then I'll jump in a chat room. That's it. It's not that hard. We have shows on Saturdays, shows on Sundays. Hell, Cam does poker shows. I listened to parts of that while I was watching. I stayed up. I think he said he went till 2 or 3. I stayed up to about 1 or 1:30. I know Cha-Cha said it was, he broadcasting poker show, but it's what you like. You know what? I'm a poker guy. I watch it. Sorry. Don't watch the shit if you don't like it. Don't listen to Cam if you don't like it. If you don't like Game of Thrones, don't listen to Cam. I listen to Cam. And Cam on the roundtable, I still have a thing out there for us to discuss the best movie battles of all time. I want to get Cam on. I've saved that just for him because Cam thinks that the Game of Thrones battle was the best battle of all time. And I call bullshit. That's what I'm saying. Just saying. Just because a battle lasts 48 minutes of a 58-minute show doesn't mean it's a great battle, Cam. So schedule something up. We'll chat about that. Something else for Cha-Cha to bitch about when he has to do his breakfast podcast. Guys, it sucks. That's all I got. F you, Cha-Cha. Lenny Melnick, FantasySports.com, Legend Sports Network, a Fantasy Fan Sportscast. I'm easy. You can find me at a Fantasy Fan on Twitter. You can shoot me an email at, I don't even think you do email at, it's just my email, just a fantasyfan at gmail.com. A few of you have already sent in to be in the AFFI, a Fantasy Fan Invitational Football League. Shoot me an email if you're interested. We need we were going to start pushing it tonight. Next week we're really going to push it so we can get a date set. The Wednesday before the season starts. The season starts on the Thursday. That Wednesday, we're going to do the draft right online during our show. And so everybody get together. So we got a few weeks, 5 weeks, something like that, to get everybody together and get going. So, you know what? Just put AFFI in the subject line and shoot me an email at justafantasyfan@gmail.com. So, Cha-Cha. Send me a pic. Send me a pic. Everybody, thanks for joining me tonight. Sorry for those of you who tuned in to listen to Chris, the guy who writes for like 9 websites and actually knows football stuff. And I'll get him back next week. I'm sure he'll figure out his bandwidth issue, and we'll roll from there. Everybody, enjoy your last day of July. We will catch you next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Say goodnight. Good night.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.